ramble about some subject, as I often do in sieges like this. Sometimes we'll auto-sim here, but with a bunch of different Aserai forces nearby, we'll give them a chance to come in with the reinforcement system. Who knows how many will join, and if it starts looking really dire, I'll break off from a little philosophical ramble. Sometimes people appreciate this, so I'm just going to roll right through it. It's my channel. That's what we're going to do. I'm just scanning, thinking in my head. I had a couple subjects. I got one for you. What do you fellas think about online algorithmic dating? And what I mean by that, of course, is using a level of science to date people online. I'll tell you my opinion. Of course, you guys are free to converse in the chat box. Obviously, you guys can't respond right now, so if you have strong opinions or if you disagree with my opinion, that's perfectly fine. But I'll give you the reasons why I think it's a good idea for most people, right? Some people are definitely intrinsic. They must have that chemical connection with somebody. They must be face-to-face and have that charisma, have that chemistry is usually the best word for it, to proceed in a relationship. But the reason I think for the vast majority of people that online dating, that filtering works so well is that when you go to a social engagement, right? When you go to, maybe you're going to clubs with a friend or friends and you're trying to hook up, or a wedding or whatever it is, the vast majority of people there, you're probably not long-term compatible with, right? And that's what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about how to find the hottest chick. I'm talking about how to form the foundation for a great relationship. Well, the reality is that there are certain things that maybe they're not deal breakers, but what it does is dramatically reduce your chances of long-term success. Marriage is already difficult. Something like 60% of marriages fail in the first 2 years, and 70% of people end up getting divorced from their marriage, right? This is a difficult thing already. Monogamy is probably not innate to the human race, right? We're probably supposed to have sex with multiple different suitors. That's why infidelity is so frequent and spans all the different people out there. But the main reason, again, that I would suggest that you try some online dating is it filters the 90% of people who are going to be either completely incompatible with you or mostly incompatible with you. And I don't mean it's a certainty. Usually these are political. Usually these are religious. Sometimes they're ideological. If you are, strongly Catholic, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to have a healthy relationship with the Muslim person. It doesn't mean that can't be a thing, right? Obviously, it happens all the time. But we're talking statistically here. It's a little bit like getting on a plane from a company or maybe a country where they have plane crashes on a regular basis. It's fine. Your plane might land, but you also may die in a smoking wreck, right? It's just fine to experiment, but maybe you're 36 or maybe you're younger and have just experienced relationship failures over and over again. Compatibility is one of the biggest keys, right? If you're left wing or right wing, in particular, especially America right now, in a particularly divided country, why would you date people that are outside of your political spectrum unless you like to argue, which, by the way, that's not a good foundation for a relationship, right? And again, I don't want to say there's no absolutes here, right? You can definitely have a conservative wife and a liberal husband and they'll do okay, but the vast majority of them won't, right? So that's what online dating helps you with. For me, smoking was a big one, right? When I was doing online dating, I met my wife. She had quit smoking for years, but if she was smoking at the time, I would not have dated her, right? I just think it's a very damaging, unhealthy habit. And for me, that was a deal breaker, right? So what it really allows you to do is go to a social engagement and tell everybody and say, raise your hand if you believe that religion is fake, and all the people raise their hands. You're like, okay, none of you. I'm very religious. I'm looking for somebody who else is religious. It essentially allows you to skip the 90 or 95% of people who maybe you'll have some sexual chemistry, but no long-term objective chance or very little chance of success, right? So that's the main value I think there is in online dating. We'll continue to ramble about various different subjects here, and I realize we should probably start a new episode right now. Sometimes I just start rambling, and the next thing you know, 30 minutes has passed, and you guys are like, what is this guy doing? He's just rambling philosophically. Is he playing Bannerlord, or is he giving me dating advice? I take it serious. My role as a mentor to some of you young fellas. And of course, I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a guru. I'm not Yoda. Every piece of advice I give you should take with the old proverbial grain of salt, right? You should take in all the collective information that you get from the people out there. But I think what I have to say has some value. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it. And I do tend to be discriminating in what I talk about. I'm not going to give you guys advice on a career or something like that, because I had the escalator career my whole life. I just became a firefighter when I was young, and my decisions were made for me the whole way. But we will have these little philosophical rambles from time to time, and the areas where I feel like I have something to share with you guys of value, I will do so. Of course, you guys are feel free to leave feedback in the commentary. So online dating, give it a shot. If you've never tried it before, be extremely honest, and maybe we'll talk about profiles at some point. But let's talk about this episode first. Welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenments. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. You are watching our philosophical campaign. This Epic Nord campaign continues here. I got to get some water. And we are slowly expanding. It has been 2 steps forward, 1 step back as we are fighting all these different kingdoms. We have cemented major power, though, and I have ratcheted the difficulty to the maximum. So we'll see. Maybe this campaign will just end, and we'll learn that Glaron Heavyhand is the most powerful warrior and army in the history of Bannerlord, right? That's what it seems like right now. Of course, this is an advantage, right? We do have this alliance with the Northern Empire. Part of the reason I did that is for the storyline, but also I wanted to have 3 or 4 way fights, right? I told my wife early on I'm interested in 3 and 4 ways. She said she wasn't, and so I just have them when she's not looking. So the Northern Empire has expanded south, which is curious, right? They have Epic now, which is good because that's close to our area here. We're going to be intermingling, and I think that's actually really good for the campaign because it brings in an extra layer of chaos, right? We can get attacked by the Vlandians, and then the Aserai may join as reinforcements, and then the Northern Empire may help us, right? Not to mention, obviously, I have some storyline ideas that are going to be wrapped around this rebellious Northern Empire. If you're not privy to the storyline, they disappeared in the previous campaign. The Epic Vlandian campaign chronologically precedes this campaign here, and we're leveling up these infantrymen because I want to continue to stack our army with Nautes. I decided early on in this campaign that we weren't going to use cavalry, but we were going to allow any other unit we can get our hands on, right? So we're using the best units in the game, and this is beautiful, right? Siggy here, Sigvatar Thodarson, forming an army, and we want them to play defensive. This is my suggestion for you when you start to become your own kingdom, is have your vassals play defensive because they're much more likely to be successful. And basically how it works is when an enemy sieges your castle, your companion armies are much more likely to defend successfully than they are going to go launch their own assaults and siege other cities. We all know the mechanics by this stage. When the AI sieges a city, it sends the alarm bell throughout the enemy ranks, and they start rushing enemy forces to try to defend it. They're usually tied to that city or castle. They can't get away, and so the proverbial orange, the inevitable orange text appears in the lower left-hand corner. Much better that they're defensive. And it looks like he's sieging right away. Hopefully he doesn't go siege. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, he's just gathering up there. We've been sort of pushing back the Vlandians here, but we're going to have big battles with the Vlandians, and let's keep pushing William here. William is the son of one of the fellas that comes by regularly on the channel. We don't swear at all when William and Henry are watching. Not a F word at all. But it's great to have you guys part of the campaign. I know it's been, a patient wait, right? Those guys are going to be 22 or something like that in college before their characters debut in this campaign. But hopefully the wait is worth it. I love having this connection with you fellas on the channel. We've got over 30 characters that are either Patreon supporters or other people that reached out. A few of them help with the Discord channel. Of course, we've already talked about Siggy, which is Mr. Hall. I don't know how much I'm supposed to say your name, Joel. I guess I should have asked you before I said it 37 times on the internet, but he's a great guy. Unfortunately, I did some research, and there are 80,000 Joel Halls that live in the small city that he lives in of Canton, Ohio. Nah, he doesn't actually. I don't know where he lives, but I appreciate it, Joel. All the help you've done with the Discord. It runs itself now. There's hundreds of people, tacticians that are in our Discord, and it's an amazing part of the community. I have been busy with life and trying to make episodes. I try to drop by once a week, but even that sometimes is difficult. I'm still working full-time, retiring soon, right, as a firefighter, 31 years in the fire service, and that is enough for me. All right. This happened. What's happening here? Is he shoved into the... He is. He's shoved into the castle. Good, right? We're going to be able to help Siggy here at Pendraic. We're marching right into this Vlandian force. Until we start losing, we're going to start getting more and more audacious. We're basically starting to feel like Napoleon. By about 1808, he hadn't lost a battle in 15 years, and that's how we feel. We feel like we can take on anything, and until someone defeats us and proves otherwise, we're just going to smash these armies to pieces. Been playing for a couple, 3 hours now. We're going to have to take a break, but I think we can make another full episode here. In fact, oh shit. Here's the Vlandians. So it didn't take long for them to start to arrive in force. Of course, they took Revel back. If I didn't mention that before the previous episode about an hour ago, they took Revel. We weren't able to take it back, or more accurately, I decided not to try to take it back. We fought them in the open field and we destroyed their force, but we had so few troops after it, I didn't feel like we could siege, headed back to the homeland. We did add Mekalovia Castle. That's the castle we were sieging when I was beginning my philosophical ramblings, I guess is the best word for it. I was going to say a rant. I wasn't ranting about dating. I just think a lot of people, they give a thumbs down to online dating before they try it. I think, especially if you're 28, 30 or something like that, and you have not experienced a positive relationship, maybe you've had a half dozen failed relationships, I think you ought to give it a try logically. I am a very logically minded person. And of course, you still have to have chemistry. Maybe I'll talk about how I power dated when I was basically... I guess the best way to do it is filtering the women, right? That you date out there. You're still going to have to filter, even if the system does a lot of filtering for you. And maybe we'll talk about that. I went on 8 dates in 5 days at one stage. I don't recommend that, by the way. All right. We need to be efficient here because we've got another battle to fight. I don't know if we can get all the way up to, Cranirog, but we're going to try to. And this army is built for efficiency. At this stage, we probably have 700, maybe not quite that many, tier 5 and 6 units, right? This is an elite army, an elite doom stack, and it's a pretty good landscape for it, right? Because we're going to be able to funnel the enemy between these rocks, pound them with javelins from uphill. Much of these tactics are rinse and repeat. And a caravan is joining them. Well, you could see the power bar. The reason the caravan is joining them here is because it considers us toast, right? So the reinforcement system continues to play a major role in this campaign, and I think we have the balance down pretty damn well. For people curious about the settings, again, I'll mention it from time to time. It's 5, 60, 70, and 70. And so those in order are the timing. It's basically, it takes an average amount of time for forces to get to us, right? So they respond in a reasonable amount of time, but not instantly. The next one is the distance. They respond from a pretty far distance. I liked also this, the villagers are not joining, right? And that's the balance I'm talking about. Opportunistic forces are joining the battle here. A lot of people have said it doesn't make sense that a caravan would join. Maybe that's true, but there were a lot of forces, especially on the ocean, they would join. Caravans on the ocean were called privateers. These people were very happy to participate in naval battles in the 16th, 17th century, all the pirates and stuff like that. A lot of the ships on the sea were basically just merchant ships that knew how to fight. And of course, they were out there trying to opportunistically sack pirates and get rich. Now, this is interesting. We haven't had this happen in too long. This force manifestly outnumbers us, and they are taking the correct approach here. They are playing defensive, and they have a really good location, right? We're going to have to come over this ridge and probably get shot to pieces. So a little bit of a puzzle here to start today's episode. I like it, right? A little bit like dating. Dating is a puzzle, right? Dating and finding someone that's right for you is a puzzle. I did meet and date at least 20 women in about a month while I was searching for the one. And right when I was getting tired of it and deciding to take a break, I met my wife now of 10 years. And I can't move on this landscape, and this battlefield is brutal sometimes. Some of these hills are intraversable, but you can't tell because there's like a magic wall in front of you. And I think this is our best approach. We can get archers down here, protected by a shield wall, and then more archers to my left. And what we can do, hopefully, is do an artillery exchange here, right? A ranged exchange. We don't have any cannons, I suppose. And hopefully we can get them to come at us, right? If you do enough damage to a static opponent, and we probably have better archers, even though it looks like they have more They have a lot of archers. And again, I'm stuck. I'm trying to backpedal and it won't let me. Come on, man. Work with me here. All right, so that the landscape is definitely making this harder. And, you know, I do find this refreshing, and hopefully you guys appreciate it. Now they're moving up to try to shoot us. Let's give them some volleys here of throwing weapons. I keep going back and forth over this hell terrain. Let's try to use this area down here. We're going to have to kite if they start boring in hard. We'll see what their infantry does. The 6th Division is over here, and so they can form a square. The beautiful thing about that division is we can dump javelins here, and then if we start getting charged, we will simply turtle up, form a square, and pull back into a kill box. And obviously with the AI, it's checkmate, right? And unless something dramatic happens here, we should be able to abuse the AI in most situations. A lot of players would struggle to deal with this tactic as well, right? You're attacking them, and then you pull back defensively. Players would have a hard time reacting to it all, especially because we have the ranged superiority. And as soon as I was saying that, there's 80,000 throwing axes going through the air. That is deliberate, of course, right? We have tons of throwing weapons, very, very intentionally. You'll see me constantly recruiting units with ranged, even over units like Legionary that maybe are tougher. Got one square at the top there. Our 6th Division is faster than the enemy, so they're kiting downhill right into the teeth of our archers. Now, we got one problem in this battle, and it won't affect us right away, but our reinforcements are at least 300 yards away. Look at our 6th Division here, beautifully positioned, if I do say so myself, against the cavalry. Let's keep pushing these archers back, right? No reason for them to get engaged. A lot of these archers have a speed banner or blasting their cavalry. Our square is getting ignored on the far side. So what I like to do with something like that is just pull it towards you. Right? We can keep kiting back and pull that square behind us. It's protecting us. It's absorbing some attention back there, and vitally, now it's getting swarmed. Look at that. There's 400 infantry swarming that square. I was going to say vitally, we can then attack the enemy from behind. Now, their archers are not really shooting. I can't really see where their archers are. It looks like there's some maybe at the top of the ridge here, but there's also some archers mixed in here. It's a strange looking battle. We're going to start getting reinforcements soon. And that reinforcements, those are going to be a problem because they're a long ways away. They got a lot of skirmishers. The AI is prone to collecting skirmishers as well, and some people lament that. They're like, it seems like the enemy forces are mostly Marines. I actually think it's optimal from a perspective of the AI. There are some parts of Bannerlord that are dreadful, and what I mean by that is from an optimization perspective. When you face the Britannians, normally in vanilla, something like 10% of their army is archers. That's terrible AI. That's not just bad AI, that's fucking lazy coding. I don't usually say that, something so negative. Damn it. I had my shield out, but it wasn't in time. I usually don't say something like that so negative about Tail Worlds, but it's inexcusable that the Britannians don't have 50-60% archers, right? They should just be running around with doom stacks of archers. It's the best archer in the game. It'd be like facing the Khazate, and they have 8% horse archers, right? They should have 40%. It just makes sense, right? So anyways, they do a great job, though, of recruiting these little skirmishers, right? The Vlandians, in this case, have a bunch of Sturgeon skirmishers, Imperial skirmishers, and the Imperials, it almost seems like they stopped recruiting units like the veteran infantry and Manavliaton. What you see is tons and tons of the Coast Guard and Nautes and stuff like that, and I think that's great because they're nasty units. Now, their archers were right at the edge of this line and couldn't really see us because of that kiting attempt, right? So that puts them in a bad spot. We're starting to get towards a bad spot here, though. I've got maybe 300 troops in front of us here, and I'm getting reinforcements, but they're a long ways away. So what do you do in instances like that, right? You don't want to have everybody charge. You want to have kind of a mixed approach. Some units pushing forward, a couple units in a square. I like to always have at least one defensive unit, and then obviously archers back as we anticipate reinforcements. I'm kind of starting to triangulate them too, right? You want to keep sort of a general awareness of where your reinforcements started from. And of course, guys on the channel say, well, you make it look so natural. I'll tell you, my career might help with a lot of elements of Bannerlord. as a firefighter, we do a lot of searches of houses and buildings. Most of the time, there's no rescue, and most of the time, frankly, it's training. Right? We're preparing to try to save your daughter or whatever that's in a fire. Oh shit, they're getting more forces. I didn't see who it was either. We've got, it's just starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. Where's our fucking reinforcements here? Let's see, here they come, and they're 200 and something units away. Fuck, I got bloody looters chasing me around. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the fire service, we do searches, and they're usually blindfolded, right? We get either blindfolded or we do it in the dark in rooms that are full of smoke for training, because fires are usually like that, right? Very infrequently can you see well. We obviously have thermal imaging technology. You know, we can find your daughter if she's hiding in a smoke-filled room, but we have to be able to navigate all kinds of objects and things like that. And what that does, working with the blindfold in various different rooms that you can't see, I think it hones your senses and surroundings, right? I've had guys say that on the channel we have a really good sense of our surroundings and situational awareness, and I'm sure that our career as firefighters help in that regard, right? I'm sure there's some level of tactics in our daily work, right? So it's obviously something that not only can I play on duty, but oftentimes we'll do a bunch of training, and then later in the day I'll make an episode of Bannerlord, and I'm using a lot of the same skills, whether it's command and control. We've talked, of course, before about the span of control, which is the notion that you can only command so many different units effectively, or whether it's situational awareness. And you know, obviously our career helps in a bunch of different ways. I'm starting to get more and more uncomfortable here as reinforcements continue to pour in. Now, a lot of them are caravans. This one I see armed caravan of the brewer, but that doesn't mean they're worthless, right? An armed caravan has good units. They have tier 4 and 5 cavalry in many cases, good archers, and collectively the reinforcements can wear you down. I see villagers of Aster did not join. Now I see villagers did join, and they're joining the enemy here, right? Which there's Glaron Heavyhand. Get that son of a bitch, right? The messages are coming up. You can get overwhelmed in battles like this with the reinforcement system. So hopefully, and here's even more villagers are joining. We're gonna kill all the villagers in this battle. You can get overwhelmed here, so hopefully, you know, not hubris in this battle. We're you know, a lot of times I would just retreat to our reinforcement lines. This battle has just been a rolling, chaotic mix, and even more villagers are joining here. So the whole Botanian Highlands are going to be exterminated in this village at this stage. More. How many are there? Now, I don't see where they're coming in. It looks like they're coming maybe from... Are they down here in the valley? Yeah, I see forces way down there. So let's start using this high ground here, right? A lot of these guys don't have ranged weapons. We got our archer reinforcements into place here. I better start getting serious in this battle before we're in trouble. Another caravan. Well, if there's Khazad forces here. Look at the blue shield. So we got carnage going on, and as soon as I said that we haven't lost a battle in a long time, I'm starting to get nervous here. Boy, we have a good setup though, right? Our archers are in a great position. They're trudging uphill into a withering fire from our archers. And I would say we have a good solid 400 troops here. Our infantry's steamrolling downhill. Let's go, boys. I still have a sliver of health. These fucking horses are in my way. And here, you just let your archers work, right? The tendency for a lot of people charge down the hill. I would wait until there's a lot of forces staring you in the face, right? When you have this many archers, just set your guys up. In fact, it looks like we just got more reinforcements. So they're going to need a whole lot more caravans to defeat us here. These are caravan units, but those are tier 5 cavalry, right? They're not weak cavalry. Your veteran caravan guards, I think, are tier 5. I mean, they still get smoked by archers, but we've got a little plateau here, just like Napoleon or any of the other generals. This is a great spot to just figure out what you got going on. Let's see if we can't identify. I don't really see huge amounts of forces all over the place, right? I see some villagers down below us here. There's cavalry running around. I got to make sure I don't get speared. We've put our shield to use. There's like 10 projectiles sticking out of our shield. And I think we got this shit. We're starting to roll through here. We can start to speed this up. No? Oh shit! And this is a real force. Lamb cards party. All right, let's keep these forces consolidated right here. I don't know if this is 100 or 300. We do have a couple mods running, right, that are going to enhance the size of our enemy forces. I've seen 700 in a single force before, right? We have seen Wazuban with 7 something. There's going to be some enormous enemy forces coming at our troops here, and 700 right now might be fatal, right? Because our army is highly banged up. These are, oh shit! And speaking of Banner Knights, I got couch lanced. What do we got here? Who is this? I think this is Turin. Turin Turambar, of course, from Silmarillion fame. If you've never read this Silmarillion, if you're a Lord of the Ring fans especially, and you don't know anything about the Silmarillion, enjoy. It's not written in the same way. It's much more like, almost like it's written almost like the Bible, where things are highly condensed, but it's, you know, it's a great foundation. Anyways, it's a good Lord of the Rings precursor to the Wars of the Ring. Oh shit! And we're getting a little over our skis here. We're just gonna. What do we got here? Who is this? This is. I think this is one of our archers. Doesn't matter. This battle looks like it's wrapped up. Each time we kill the force, I was gonna say another one comes in, and here comes another force. Villagers didn't join. That's a good sign. We're not getting villagers joining here. The enemy's running out of steam. We've got at least 300 or 400 troops here running down the hillside, and now the battle should be over. I'm going to stop saying that, actually, until this battle ends, right? You could definitely all of a sudden see an Aserai army of 1,200 joins, and we're just cooked. And anybody who's like, oh, this is not realistic. Yeah, it is. We've all been on the other side of it, right? If you've played Bannerlord enough, you've been on a campaign map where you saw a battle going on 3 days away, and by the time you got there, the forces are all banged up, and you arrived just at the last second and swing the battle. Well, this can happen. This can happen to us, right, with this reinforcement system, and I think it's great. Let's stop fucking around here. Let's push these 2 divisions forward. Let's get flanking archers here. I'm done fucking around, right? We're starting to get down to a pretty raggedy force here. The good news is that these enemy forces don't look elite. They're kind of a mix of high-end troops, and they've got a bunch of Sturgeon warriors wearing red. I see a lot of Santa Hat motherfuckers in there. Those are the Sturgeon brigands, which are like tier 3. And now that we've got archer flanking fire, we should be able to put these guys down. I think I've got a lake rat here. He's got a spear, it looks like. I don't recognize this character. And speed is a little bit of a factor with the reinforcement system. I mean, what I mean by that, of course, is I'm going through I look like such a bitch here. That's all right. Sometimes it's good for you. Eat a little humble pie. If we lose this battle, it'll be very humbling. But speed is a factor, because the longer your battle takes, the further away that enemy forces were from the beginning of the battle could still join, right? Exactly like what I was talking about before. Say you're 3 days away from a city, Epicrotia, right? And someone starts to siege it. Maybe one of your allies starts to siege it, and then an enemy attacks your force. You've literally got enough time to travel a day or two before that battle is over, and that's exactly what's happening here. And I just think it's great. Of course, I say that probably too much, but you know, if you only download like 5 mods for a Bannerlord campaign, and I would say if you're an experienced player, well, I would not use the reinforcement system if you're not an experienced player. But if you're an experienced player and you want more of a challenge, go get it. It's one of the absolute best mods in the game. And I do not make any money by saying that. I just like to recommend stuff for you fellas to increase your playing pleasure. And that was just the foreplay, right? We've got to get to this castle now. We're banged up, so our speed here, we're going to be disorganized and encumbered, and it's a huge force. We might be able to gather a few reinforcements, but most of our castles that are locally here, and what I mean by locally is on this western side of our kingdom, have raggedy troops. And I think this is one of those instances too where we're going to have to disband Siggy's army. This is something you guys definitely want to employ in your campaigns. The bottom line is sometimes it's better to have 3 or 4 armies, other times it's better to concentrate. Napoleon did that in this instance here, facing 2,000 plus Aserai, or excuse me, Vlandians, I don't think it makes sense for us to try to be a hero with 400 troops. Siggy's right here will be able to add his army, or at least some of the forces in there, and I just think it makes sense, right? You hurt relations a little bit by doing this, but you know, it's like 100, right? Because we've been giving them all kinds of goods, right? We can say some bad things about Joel once in a while. He's still going to love us, right? Because we take care of our fellas, right, that are on the channel. Sometimes I'm going to make fun of your guys' characters, and I do it from a perspective of love. And in the fire service, it's like brotherly love, right? We dig each other left and right. Like at retirement speeches, you're always roasting whoever's retiring, and roasting basically means like making fun of the silly things they did, or maybe some of the parts of their life where it might be considered bullying, but because we love each other so much, it's like brotherly love. Like we mean it from the best place. They did that shit at my wedding. They were roasting me for like 10 minutes. And then the normal process is they roast you, and then just to soften the blow at the end, they say something nice. So Siggy never wears, I heard, Joel Hall, he never wears deodorant, and the guy just stinks. But damn, is he a nice guy, right? He mows his neighbor's yard. This guy's just an A-plus personal guy. He takes care of our Discord for us. The deodorant stuff is fake. We're just fucking around here. And I don't know if we're going to make it, right? We actually formed probably too big of an army. And now we're trudging along like Napoleon. I don't think we're going to make it. Damn. And so there's that fine balance. I probably should have gone in here with 1,000, because then we might have been able to save the castle. I wonder if they'll attack us, right? This force, this will tell you how strong it is, right? If they don't come out, then oh shit.
It's been a while.
And Dallas set, right? So this character, if you watch the Vlandian campaign and you paid attention, you know who this is, right? This is one of the youngest, actually this is the youngest daughter of Baron York, right? And we have upgraded or updated her encyclopedia. Of course, she had not yet come of age in the Vlandian campaign. I love it. We can just bring her right into this campaign. She's leading a large army here, full of heavy cavalry. She's all armed to the teeth. She had a minor role in the campaign, but nevertheless, right, I love that we can take one campaign and carry it on to the next. And I wish there was more variance in this area, this battlefield. I swear in this campaign we've had 5 or 6 battles here, but we'll just roll with it. At least it's a highly different battle. We're not fighting you know, we're not fighting the Nords or whatever else that we have been fighting here a lot. This is going to be tons of cavalry, and it has the opportunity for us to do more and more diverse tactics here. So a tactical skirmish line with 2 archers, and we can do some shield and shock here with the 1st and 3rd Division. It works a lot better with cavalry. In fact, I'm working on a guide that basically, what is the optimal Nord army? I'm still trying to figure out the best process for raiding, you know, what is the best Nord army. And the reality is I think you're better off with the cav circle than infantry circle, right? They do a much better job of slowing down enemy cavalry, and they obviously protect you from projectiles better because they're on a horse, right? Your guys are literally, it's like you're underneath a big domed tent, and you don't get hit with as many projectiles inside. Anyways, it does work pretty well with infantry here, and they'll stand the cavalrymen up as that charge that ring, and then the shock troops rip them apart. Better sit up for this shit here. That last battle felt, you know, like right on the edge of hubris, like we had just enough to finish the deal. But this is a no-joke battle, and if we get reinforcements here, we're going to lose, right? In other words, if the enemy starts pouring in reinforcements, we're going to be in trouble. Now, I've started to use cav lines, but we're also dismounting them, right? This is actually a very effective way to use them. Now, we're doing it here from a role-playing level because Glaron Heavyhand hates horses, right? We're going to kill horsemen, we're going to kill enemy horses, and we're not going to be charging with a bunch of cavalry. You won't see in this campaign us bringing in a big cav wing and slamming into the side of the enemy, but it's amazingly effective, right? Just putting the horses out there in a shield wall and then having the guys dismount, form a square. It's a little bit like a castle, right? It's even more breastwork for your troops to hide behind. It slows down enemy cavalry charges. Usually cavalry is pretty decent infantry, right? Once they're dismounted, most of them have decent armor. If they're banner knights and elite cataphract, they're actually great squares because they're wearing high-end armor. So you'll see us consistently do this. Now this square, we're probably going to have to move to our right, our infantry, or rather this circle and shock troops, because the cavalry here is circling down to the bottom. The nice thing, though, is once you get comfortable with it, you can move it quickly, right? In fact, we can face this skirmisher division down towards these cavalry, and you open fire here, right? The Vlandians are pouring over the ridge. Their archers vitally are not part of this battle. Again, we're slope decline. We're going to do it until you guys know it by heart. You guys are going to recognize every scenario to use it in, and I will talk about the times not to use it, right? This is definitely one of them. One of the times to use it, right? Their archers, a couple hundred archers, now have to come over this ridge to do any damage. And that's how you get a death span that looks like that. Let's charge at both these divisions here. Keep moving that square side to side. And these Vlandian forces are starting to look distinctly Nord. Right, the Vlandians in this campaign have taken a lot of Nord territory, but it is a little bit curious now, right? They do not have any Nord territory that I'm aware of. I haven't looked, of course, to see who owns Valvik, but I'm pretty sure the Nords do, right? What I mean by that is the last time we were sailing in that direction, the island city was still Nords, which means I don't know how the Vlandians have so many Nord units. I don't know, they shouldn't, right? Because they don't own any Nord cities or castles. And this is a high-end force here, too. They have some Tier 4, but this first tier here is a whole lot of Tier 5 units in this. But our reverse slope decline. Combination of our army. I mean, they have Huskarls. It's weird. There's a lord there. Kill that lord. Let's back up. See how many more are coming. There's all their crossbow. It looks like they have 150, 200 in the valley there. We will fight on our side of this line here. 156. We still have a lot of skirmishers, right? And this has been a beautiful process, using skirmishers to skirmish, and they have enough guys in there that are solid, armed. They turn into great shields, or great squares, rather, right? You can start using that 6th Division now to slow down cav charges, and it does look like a whole bunch of cavalry is heading our way. We've got a square right here that's going to slow them down. Here they come. And it just died on our square. Now, there's a bunch of them, right? They're flooding through here. The javelins are still flying, though, right? All those Nautes and units with 10 javelins, here's where they earn their bread. They're just unloading javelins still. You can see them flying through the air. And our square is attracting just deadly fucking attention here. These units that are stuck on this square are just melted. And the heavy hand is getting it on, right? This guy is just so sick. Just a great combination of speed, killing power, and armor, and he just absolutely just wrecks shop, right? And we're going to have some epic battles where he gets 300-400 kills. The battles haven't been big enough for him to really get that many. Oh, they're pulling back, charge, right? Just like a dog. When the other dog runs, we engage, right? We're going to pour in here. Hurry up, get up here. Let's get archers on this flank. There's a lot of Vlandians coming in behind him here. I didn't see if they have reinforcements, but there's a fuck ton. And those are skirmishers here. I don't need to get hit by a line of throwing axes. Let's back up here. They're throwing javelins at our feet. Charger. Let's have half of our units charge. Part of the reason I'm doing that is I want reinforcements. This is part of the process of being a veteran player in Bannerlord. If you don't have troops die and you have a huge collision, then you get reinforcements after all your forces are wiped out. Sometimes it's better to have some units charge like that, and what'll happen is we'll now get reinforcements before the rest of our units behind me here have to charge, right? Or they'll be very close in behind us here. Essentially, right now on the battlefield, we've got 300 or 400 troops that are highly wounded. So by sending those troops in on the left, it's holding back the enemy a little bit, and this is, I think they just popped in. I can't tell. The numbers look like we have a lot of troops here. It seems like it. This is something, that's a veteran move in Bannerlord. Understanding that reinforcements come in big waves, and sometimes you want to wait for a charge until you get those reinforcements. It's very tempting. Just let's charge. Our guys are injured. We're being hit with javelins. It's where the game in baseball, they say the game slows down when people are playing really well. They say the ball, they can easily read the stitches on a baseball and hit home runs, 480 feet, even though the pitch is a nasty curveball. Once you get really comfortable as a battlefield commander, you will start to notice these little things, right? The rhythm of a big battle like this, charge. These archers are now enveloped by solid infantry. They're starting to reform right into the teeth of our 3rd Division. And they're charging hard the top of our flanks here. And there's reinforcements, right? Almost at the exact time our reinforcements just poured onto the map. We're going to be able to roll up the enemy's left flank here. And we're starting to get to lower level troops, right? These are tier 2, tier 3 archers. There's more troops coming, but they have the distinct flavor of troops that want nothing to do with this army of ours. Let's push in hard here. And we will conclude this episode in dating suggestions. In fact, I think here, since this battle, unless they turn, this battle is over. Let me finish some of my perspective on that. Profiles, right? Profiles, I think, are absolutely essential. I've actually helped firefighters before write their profile. I'm a very literate person. I'm lucky. My mother was an English teacher. I went to good schools. I read a lot of books. And so what that allows me to do is articulate. Well, probably similar to how you hear me articulating during battles. If you write a profile that has 2 lines and it's like, oh, I love going to Hawaii and I love football games and bean dip, you're not going to find the right person for you, right? You need to be eloquent. At least you need to be descriptive on your profile to have the best chance for success. I actually had a hard time with the letter limit on my, and I use Match.com for those curious. It's probably, I don't even know if they're in business anymore, but that was what we used, 15 years ago. And I was highly descriptive, and I wrote detailed desires in there. I wrote stuff like this, like, I am not a materialistic person, and I literally wrote this in the profile. If you're the kind of gal that needs a $15,000 wedding ring, I literally wrote, and I don't know if I did in capital letters, but I was like, please move on, right? You're not going to work out with me. I'm not going to waste 3 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever, 6 months salary on a wedding ring. I still got my wife a nice ring, but we spent 1 month salary on nice gold custom rings for us. We didn't go crazy. And I think that's an essential part of compatibility. If you're not very materialistic, but you meet a beautiful woman, or maybe whatever, you meet a woman and she is materialistic, or vice versa, you're going to have problems, right? You can still have a successful relationship, but why don't you give yourself the best possible chance, right? By using online dating. It's your filter. It's your opportunity to just say, you're a nice lady, but it's not going to work, right? And this just puts you ahead of the game. There's no way you can go on 50,000 dates in your life. And so I would recommend using some of the tools that are out there to help you narrow down and make it more likely that you're going to have success, right? It's very difficult to establish a long-term marriage. I already read the statistics, right? It's not a good a rate of success. And so you want to give yourself every chance of having success with that. Now, today we also have an anti-social trend, right? Social media is not helping. I'm not helping right now, right? By watching this instead of hanging out with friends and talking to women or men or whatever, talking to the potential candidates for you, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? I'm not saying every single hour of the day you need to be working on your social skills, but the science is clear, right? We all spend way too much time with screens, way too much time dopamine chasing, and not enough time socializing. But that will probably have to wait for another episode here. Another couple whippings here, and I don't know. Maybe this campaign is fucking over, right? Glaron Heavyhand just can't be beat. Stay tuned. We shall see. I promise there are going to be huge battles coming, but who knows, right? Maybe it'll be short and sweet. The end, right? All right, friends, if you want to see more, now's your time to subscribe. So please hit that like button on the way out, and I will see you, friends, next time.